Mrs. Edwards.
Here.
Mr. Benson.
Here.
Mrs. Labuda.
Yeah.
Mr. Sorensen. Mr. Steingart.
Here.
So what I'd like to propose is that we have the discussion on emergency preparedness right before public comment so that we can move seamlessly from one thing to the other and start with the resolution to adopt the NIMS training policy for emergency services.
I'll move
We have-
that.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we have three distinguished gentlemen from our emergency services.
Well, two.
Two.
You guys figure out who the third one is.
Two. The middle one is the duck commander.
There you go.
Okay.
I knew you guys would pick up on that.
So, it says here on the resolution itself, the Commissioner of Public Safety would like to clarify the available NIMS training at the Sullivan County Emergency Services Training Center using the attached policy. Did you have something you wanted to say about that, Josh? Because Dick isn't here. We have our deputies from the emergency services with us, fire departments.
I didn't have anything specific. I think it was just some clarification on the course levels and who would be trained. I don't know that there was.
I don't think they heard you.
Did you need to add anything to the clarification, why we're having
Have you
this
seen it,
clarified?
Jack, or no?
I think basically, this is my understanding, people can correct me if I'm wrong, is that with the governors come out with the emergency services training in light of Storm Sandy. So in order for us to receive any kind of grant funding, all emergency services, county manager, et cetera, have to be certified, right? So what this is telling us here is what level is required for each, which I'm assuming is different than the way it was before, otherwise we wouldn't be having
No,
this resolution.
this is the same. All responders should have a minimum of 100, 700, and 800. Anybody that is gonna be a captain, lieutenant, or in charge of a command of small force would be 100, 200, 700, and 800. Anybody that is in charge of a large-scale operation should have 1, 2, 3, 7, and 8. And
Eight's not on here.
I see that. I'm not sure why.
Because 8 is the lowest level that you have to worry about, and it's not that much involved more than the 1.
It's an introduction to
Right.
NIMS compliance. And then, like Josh, you should probably have 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and 8. Corey, you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and 8. 4 is the advanced, when you're dealing with a large-scale incident.
Right, so I've
So-
been
Want to keep
to
a
one
copy?
portion of that training up in
I'm sorry?
Albany. I've been to one portion of that training up in
Well,
Albany.
1, 2, 7, and 8 you can do online. And as a matter of fact, ICS 300 is gonna be offered at our training center in March. And you may sign up for it just by going to the county website and go to fire training. And there is a spot where you could register.
We don't know which weekend that is?
It's not a
what day?
weekend, it is 2 weeks, it's three nights, 2 weeks. I believe, what's the 19th of March, is that a Wednesday? It's that like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then the following week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Thank you. Now, we have a certain capacity at the emergency center in terms of
class size?
when there's a cutoff. So this is open to countywide,
Yes, it is.
and it's open, as it says here, so it's all fire, EMS, law enforcement, county employees. So this is gonna be run just this once in March?
This is run by the Office of Fire Control and Prevention, OFPC. And this is open to any type of emergency service person. Public health nursing, highway departments, anybody that would be dealing in a large or small scale disaster of
Okay.
any sort.
If we exceed the class size and there's demand for additional seats, we'll request another class.
Okay, and so is that gonna be, is it Bill or, who is it that's actually gonna be handling the registrations?
John,
Okay, John.
but you can register online.
Right. I just wanna make sure that, everybody who's here from the media, if you have this, we have to have the exact dates, but, I don't want people complaining that they didn't have enough advance notice, that they didn't hear about it. So we're gonna need to put it on our website. We're gonna need to have it out in the, as a press release. And then you guys have your phone trees where you're notifying, everyone.
No. What happens is, once we apply for a particular course,
Okay,
for example, ICS 300, the state approves it, notifies our training coordinator, which is John Hochschild, who was out at the Emergency Service Training Center. He then sends it to me. I am the webmaster for the Bureau of Fire. I will post all the relevant information on the schedule, the registration information, and there is a form fill that you would just click on and fill in the information. That goes to John. Then John will also send out the announcement to all of the fire chiefs in Sullivan County. And at any time, anybody can go to the county website, go to the Bureau of Fire, go to fire training, click on the fire training schedule, and everything is right there in black and white, and a little bit highlighted of yellow.
okay, so I think we're gonna have to just expand that somewhat, because like you're saying, it's public health, highways. And so we just wanna make sure that people who would normally not be looking at our website to see when the training is coming up has the awareness that they're eligible for it as well.
I believe John does send this out to everybody, but I will double check for you if
That'd
you'd
be
like.
great. Okay, cause that gives us plenty of time between now and,
Yeah, the police chiefs
Did
are,
you say
I
you
mean,
could take it online,
everybody in the
too?
county
Yes.
that is in
Used to
would be
127
attending
or online.
a
The
unified
other one you have to
command
go to the
is
class.
notified of this.
okay, perfect. All right,
Yeah.
so do we have any questions about this, resolution? All in favor? Any opposed?
Or is it?
All right, the next resolution that we have is to authorize the county manager to execute a contract amendment with Verizon of New York Inc. to continue maintenance of enhanced
Motion.
911.
Second.
Okay, thank you, and, Alex, you wanna just talk about how we are getting such a good deal for $8,000?
The legislature earlier this year approved awarding a new phone system to Carousel Industries, and that was part of our PSAP grant, the Public Safety Answering Point, to upgrade our E911 telephone system. The state is, we're kind of back and forth with the state, or waiting on the state to get the final contract for the grant. So until we get the final grant contract, we obviously can't enter into a contract with Carousel, make sure we have the funding for it. So this will just extend our maintenance with Verizon for another 3 months till March 31st, so that we can iron that out and hopefully get the new system installed prior to that date.
All right. All in favor? Any opposed?
Or is it?
Thanks, Alex. Now, while we're on this subject, do you have an update either from 911 or anything regarding
Just,
your world?
Yeah, quick update on the radio project. Things are moving along. We do have bids out for 2 towers. I think I reported yesterday at Kathy's committee. The Tanana Lake Tower and the Thunder Hill Tower, we're moving forward. The bids are out for the site development and for the towers. So we hope to be installing that, this winter, hopefully in the spring. We'll see how the weather goes and how the grant will play out. Again, that's tied to our round 1 grant to build out those 2 towers. So we're moving along with that. We have 2 dispatchers in training, and last thing, on behalf of our department, happy holidays to all of you.
I know you guys work 24/7, 365. I hope you all had a nice Thanksgiving there too. I know people were working through the.
366 every 4th year, just so you know.
Okay. We don't want to leave that one day out.
Absolutely.
We don't have Jim here, right?
No.
Okay, Jeff, how's everything going in your end of the world?
We're in the process of interviewing candidates to fill the open position, the probation. We expect by the end of the week we'll have a final determination on who we're going to make an offer to. Very small list. There's only 5 people on the eligible list. 1 person didn't respond. 1 person was concerned about the salary, so I don't know if they'll accept the position if offered. We'll probably have to go to a secondary list of out-of-county residents. I don't know how many individuals are on that list at this point. Have taken steps to send additional staff to Albany for alternative incarceration training for the pretrial program.
Sorensen
So
and-
as soon as we get to staffing levels that are appropriate, we can immediately switch seasoned officers into that pretrial release program. We'll also have an officer assigned for the pre-sentence reports to expedite those, so that the court gets them quicker and individuals can be moved from the jail to docks.
So if you have to go to a secondary list,
That's an out of
Yeah,
town.
it depends on, I would imagine, given the slots that we have open, and the lack of people on the current list, that you probably will have to go to the secondary list, which would be composed of out-of-county residents. Anybody who accepts that position would have to establish residency within Sullivan County. I think it's within 6 months, I'm not sure.
so is your
Well, it's
timeline
within
now
6
being moved,
months.
pushed further back
Within 6
because of
months.
this possibility?
No, I mean, we're prioritizing the ATI pretrial program. We expect, like I said, to have individuals manning those positions come January.
Okay.
Cora, excuse me, one comment, please. But we do make, if you cannot find, if we cannot fill the slots from within the county, we do make exceptions. People that live outside the county, we have to have people that, you know, have to live in the county. So we have made, you know, exceptions in the past. But salary, you think, is the main issue, correct?
Yeah, there is an issue with that. I mean, through the years, it wasn't unusual to have 15 to 20 people on a list. In the past
Right.
couple of years, it's been 5, 6, 7 people tops.
Well, I want to make sure that it's on the public record, because I know that we've had these many discussions about your org chart and the number of people that are actively looking for positions outside of the county if something opens up.
Yeah.
And,
It's sort of disconcerting because there's about, it's over a third of the department that has put in applications with neighboring counties and their probation department, and they're also on the parole list.
so has there been any progress in the ongoing discussions with,
Well, without getting into too many specifics, the representatives of the Teamsters Union have requested, and we've had an initial meeting with them, and they've put some offers on the table to address the salary issue in their office. We're working on the figures and confirming them with the union, and then at some point, we'll ask for an executive session to discuss their offer, potential counter offers that you would be willing to authorize, if any.
okay, so that would go in Ira's, that would go in Ira's personnel committee sometime in,
Hopefully that either there or, I mean, if we're ready potentially next week, but probably at the personnel committee in January.
okay? So, thanks for that update, Jeff. Sheriff?
Eric, do you have anything in,
Yeah, Civil Department is pretty much on track with what they were doing last year. So far, we sent $180,000 to the county treasurer for fees that we charge. Evictions are up a little bit this year, but nothing substantial, but income executions are down, which leads you to believe that folks are being more fiscally responsible or are able to afford to pay their cell phone bills and such, medical bills. As far as the jail, we're down to boarding out right now 18.
That was from what was your high last month?
I think we're at 38, 35. But the count's creeping up again, so we're gonna have to send a couple out. But hopefully we won't see it as bad as it was.
But nothing's kicked in with the alternatives to incarceration program yet, right? It's too soon, Jeff?
It's too soon, but we have expedited pre-sentence reports. We got 20 out last week. Just kind of put all hands on deck, told people that there's going to be some comp time, some overtime with that, but usually we process 4 to 5 pre-sentence reports a week. Last week we got 20 out.
Wow, so that means
And
you
those-
are
most of those people were incarcerated.
already, so, but you are starting to make headway in that backlog.
To some extent, I mean, it's a little spurt, it can't be sustained, I'll tell you that, without the additional staff coming on board.
Right. All right, well, at least we're working on that. So now, what I'd like to do is move to the discussion item, which I brought right before.
Is that the end of the sheriff's report?
No.
Keep on going.
In patrol, we had that rash of car larcenies. We had a break in that case that we worked on with the state police, and we arrested a 15-year-old. There's 2 other suspects we're working on, but he admits to doing over 50 cars in the Livingston Manor area with his compatriots.
Was he on his own?
No, he has 2 other suspects. There's 2 other people that we're trying to pick up. No, they're older. I don't want to give too much more away. 'Cause,
No, you don't have to.
we're gonna pick them up as well, but we're working with the state police. There's over 80 of them in the area. 2 nights ago, we had a couple deputies answer a call for shots fired out in Lake Huntington. They wound up confronting a man with a gun. Actually, one of the deputies ended up with a shotgun in his face, and luckily the guy dropped the gun before they shot him. He's now in our jail. But it was, once again, it's like the 3rd incident in a year. We had Lieutenant Pratty wrestle with the naked man last year, tried to take his gun. We had Kyle Music with the CIA agent in the spring, phony CIA agent. So it's, there's a lot of people with a lot of issues out there, and it's just continuing on.
I'm sorry, you said they were, I'm sorry, would you say they were shotguns or handguns?
This one was a shot.
Okay. I'm just curious, because I want, if you were gonna say handguns, I was wondering if they have a license for the
Yeah,
shotgun.
no, this was a shotgun.
Okay.
In the spring, it was a handgun with the CIA agent.
And then, did the guy have a license? I'm just curious.
No,
Okay.
that was an illegal gun. Also, you probably saw us out at the Thompson Square Mall yesterday. We're gearing up for the holidays, for the counterterrorism thing, making everybody aware to be on the lookout for anything suspicious. This is the time of year that incidents could happen, so just asking everybody to be alert and vigilant.
Thank you.
And the only thing, same thing I brought up at the last public safety, manpower. Tomorrow we have a meeting with the school superintendents. It was set up by someone on the legislative board to try to find some funding to offset the cost of some deputies.
Was
But
that Jonathan?
I think it was. I guess it's just scheduled superintendent's meetings, all the schools meet, and we'll
And
discuss
that will
with them.
put another road patrol back on? Is that the intent, the final intent?
No, they're looking for more coverage. It's really not gonna address our manpower problem. It'll help a little, but those people would be in the schools. They're looking to fund additional people to be in the schools.
Can you refresh my memory? This is, the Monticello police used to have that SRO in there, and then they dropped it, and so the county, they're
Well,
looking to the county to.
it's not just Monticello, it's countywide. It's Tri-Valley, Sullivan West, Eldred, Roscoe, Livingston Manor. It's all the schools. I know Tri-Valley was looking for one on their own that they wanted to fund. Tomorrow we'll find out what the interest is in other people, other schools ponying up. I know Monticello would like to kick in some, and we'll see what the offer is on the table tomorrow. Like I said, Jonathan set that up. We'll see if there's anything there. But those will be people that'll be in the school, not on normal patrol, and it really won't address the overall manpower problem on the road.
So let me.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Yes.
go ahead.
Have you filled any of the positions that we've given you authorization to fill yet?
Everything so far is backfilled. We got 3 people in the academy, and they'll be getting out, I believe, in March. But even with them coming out, those were backfills for people that have left us recently. We're still down like 10 positions, and what I was looking for, again, was the 5 we lost during the deconsolidation of 911 to replace those minimal. And that's the 5 we were looking for in the budget this year. In the projected budget, the county manager put 2 more bodies in. That has yet to get your approval. That'll be in the final budget. And what we asked for was the other 3 bodies to be added back in, at least give us the 5. And that's what you'll be voting on when you do the budget. The school issue is kind of like a side issue. It would help a little bit, but it's not the answer to the road patrol problem to get deputies on the road. Last night with the incident we had, those were the only 2 deputies on the road. 1,000 square miles. It's getting a little thin out there, officer safety, public safety. So I just ask you to reconsider. The other part was that I mentioned last time was the overtime.
Did they call the state police for backup, or the local constables for some kind of backup?
It was a 911 call. They pulled everybody.
They were the only ones who answered.
They're the two cars that answered up on the pole. They responded, and it wasn't a matter of calling for backup. They walked in the door and there was an incident. So it wasn't like an extended standoff where we call for additional manpower from other agencies, which, if they're available, certainly they would come. But that was a 911 pole. The only two that answered up and responded were our two deputies.
All right, but was this public knowledge over the last couple of days? I got 3 phone calls at home from private citizens telling me about this, and this is the first I'm hearing about it from them, and now here.
On this incident?
Yes.
Yeah, we had press inquiries that, in fact, Dan Hoos called me that morning because he thought the school was locked down. It was public knowledge.
I'm just curious. I mean, I had people calling me at home, which I find kind of interesting.
Yeah, we saw it on Facebook within a couple of hours.
Facebook is no good. I'm saying, I know, it's.
Scanners.
Yeah.
Kitty, did you have something you wanted
But
to
the other part of that puzzle
ask?
is the overtime. Our budget in the overtime was cut down to 120. If the two deputies going forward do get approved, that the county manager put in, 20,000 of that is overtime to go to the academy. It's like an hour each way, back and forth. And we've got 3 people that'll be in till March, I believe, that are in the academy now. So the number coming out of the 2014 overtime budget will probably be somewhere around the 27 to 30,000 mark just for that. Now we're getting down into an area where the remainder of that is pretty much contract overtime. It really doesn't give us anything to work with for emergencies or calling people in for any major incident of any kind, natural or man-made. So I would ask you to look again real hard at the overtime, and I would ask you to reconsider before voting your final budget on the manpower.
So I need to be really clear, the 50 grand that Josh put into the tentative budget for overtime is going to what?
Is that from the medical stuff last year?
Well, yeah, that was the budget amendment for this year.
It's another joke.
From the pharmaceutical savings. There's 100 in their overtime line in the 14 budget for overtime.
That they've used or they haven't used?
That's for 14. They wouldn't have used any for 14 yet.
I think what you're thinking of, Cora, is the pharmaceutical money, we got that check back, and you put that into the overtime budget.
For 2013,
Yeah.
correct? You
That
used it?
was-
yeah.
It was all been used?
It's gone. That was 40-some thousand, I believe. 43.
Okay, I
And
just
it was at
confused.
50?
It was 40 and change. I forgot the exact
And then,
number.
no, I'm saying that initially, before we added that back. What
You're
was
talking
the
about the
number?
pharmaceutical?
No, I'm talking about the initial budget.
overall
Yeah.
budget
Yeah.
for overtime?
Yeah.
Was
There-
100, I believe, right?
you requested.
It was 100 and you requested the pharmaceutical.
I forget exactly what you
Not
requested.
just
Was
wanted
it
to
200?
compare apples
But
to
that
apples.
pharmaceutical money was just a one-off, right?
Maybe not.
You know,
What?
We're getting way off point here.
No,
Well, it wasn't
I'm
last week
confused,
also.
I'm
That's
sorry,
what we did.
go ahead, Kitty.
I have two questions. more there. First of all, when it comes to the overtime budget, if I'm hearing you correctly, about 20,000 is going for
Yeah.
the people to go to the academy of the 50.
We're at 120. The 50 was money, Cora was talking, we put that 43 in from the pharmaceutical savings last year. In our budget, you're giving us 120, coming up for 2014. I believe we asked for 250. Of that 120, what I'm saying is, if you approve what the county manager put in for next year, for 2014, 2 bodies to go to the academy. They will use, not around, it'll be almost 20,000 in overtime just for the academy.
So that brings it down to 100,000.
Why are we
In addition
spending
to that-
overtime on
Wait,
sending
wait.
somebody to the academy?
Wait,
I don't
wait.
understand that.
Gene, I am.
You have the floor.
Thank
It's your
you.
floor.
Thank you. The other
So I'll get our
question that I
turn.
have, had to do with, if I remember correctly, there was the doggy, and the doggy is no longer, and the handling and the cost of the doggy involved overtime also.
Yep.
So that money of overtime still exists, doesn't exist, where'd it go? And
It's
then
not
my
the budget.
final question is, when we're talking about the schools, if I remember correctly, and the sheriff's presence within the schools, one of the gentlemen who was a school superintendent, I think of Monticello,
It's a Plesky, yeah.
he had stated something about they would only use that person excluding these days, these holidays, and this summertime, so therefore if it was a shared position, they'd use them, say, 2/3 of the time, and that other 1/3 then could be used as part of.
Absolutely. I said it will be helpful, but it won't address the normal problem year to year when school's in session. It'll still leave us short. It'll definitely be helpful. And
Because
if
it's
we
my
had,
understanding that most of your problems are more of when you're on your off shifts, which is your evening shifts or your night shifts, which is when a lot of issues occur, and school's not in session at that time.
right, so what I was saying was I was linking off that. If the overtime is raised, right now, once we get done with the contractual overtime, National Park Service, STEP program, Stop DWI, things that we have to do because we're reimbursed for that money. It's not costing the county anything. We go work, we're paid for it. It's really leaving pretty much nothing in the budget, where if I do have something that happens after school, I have no overtime to hold someone over to fill that slot, manpower-wise, or to go on that complaint. So I was linking the two, that I would be asking that the overtime be raised, and that you consider additional manpower to that, because during the school year, we're still gonna be short. And Gene, where the overtime comes from on that is, Monday to Friday, they have to be there during certain hours.
Right.
We're sending them down to Orange County. The overtime is their time to come here, get a car, and then drive to and from the academy. They do 8 hours at the academy. So the academy has the overtime built in. It's not because of any incidents or special training, it's just how the academy works.
It doesn't make sense to me. I don't get paid to travel from my home to my job.
We used to.
I'm not talking about this job.
Sorry to say it.
That's beside the point. That's beside the point. I mean, I don't understand why we're paying for travel time
They
in
don't
this
get paid
instance.
to come from their home to their job. Their job starts here. They have unions. When they show
They
up
come
in
here
our
and then they
office,
go to the academy?
They are assigned to the academy.
Do they
to
come
work.
here and then go to the academy?
Yes.
Or do they go from their home to the academy?
No, they come here and go to the academy.
And then to the academy.
They come here, they
Not
get a
from
marked
home.
unit, they get their uniforms on, whatever they're wearing for that day in training, and they go to the academy. So their day starts when they get to our office. We can't have them not be paid for that travel, they're on duty.
Okay.
I wish we didn't have to pay it too, but there's no way around it. If we were running the academy and they were coming here, and we were starting our day, but we're not running the academy, and we have to be there at 8 o'clock, and they don't get dismissed till 4, or whatever the hour is, and that travel is just part of the process.
Well, just doesn't make sense to me.
We had asked for 250. I would look for that to be bumped back up to that.
So it's 130 additionally to what Josh has in the budget right now for overtime.
So that full amount is the need, you're saying?
I would say we'd probably use all that up.
Okay, any other questions?
I don't have the budget in front of me, I just went, so last year we budgeted 100, we gave an additional 43 from the pharmaceutical.
Give or take.
So we actually, compared to last year, without the pharmaceutical, gave you half of what the additional was, and you're looking for double that.
Yeah, I think.
If you followed
I
that.
think if-
I just wanna make sure I'm following it.
Well, if you look at the overtime line, I think we're over. It wasn't, even with the additional 43, it wasn't enough. And we're trying to be very frugal with the overtime and only go when we have to. But when the bell goes off, we gotta have people there. If we're looking, searching for someone, if we've got an incident, we gotta be there. It's not like we can call it off till we got an
What do you
answer.
use so far this year?
I don't know, but I know we're over the amount, and we've been very
Over the
frugal.
140?
Look, I'm all for public safety. I think the people of Sullivan County deserve to feel safe in their homes or when they're out on the roads and doing whatever they're doing in the county. I just don't understand why we have this argument almost every month. We just have to take care of this. I don't know if we're not doing our jobs or if you're not doing your jobs.
Probably depends who you ask.
Yeah, well, and you make a very good point. You make a very good point,
Okay,
which is why I don't understand some of these phone calls I get.
Okay, Jean, I'm gonna take your point of order and
Yep.
repeat it. So, I think what I'd like to do is follow up on the suggestion, Ira, that you made a couple months ago. Is there a plan? Is there, you know, because we've never gotten one really. We just get requests, but they're not in an integrated plan. And, you know, I know Cindy has said this before, you know, we'd like to be able to fully fund every request that comes in every department. We have difficult choices we have to make, and we don't want public safety to be left wanting. We do want people to feel safe. We're in a period of time now where, you know, it's snowing, and this is where a lot of second homeowners are away for the season, and this seems to be where, you know, people keep their driveways either plowed or not plowed. It seems to be an indicator as to whether people's houses are getting burgled or not. So I just hope that everybody does become more vigilant during this holiday period, because it is the time when things spike, and we really do have a very large geographical area that we have to cover, and the more that everybody's watching out for each other, I think the better off we'll be. If we finished with all our reports, I want to...
Could I make one more request? Just a thought.
A thought or a request? Or a plan?
I don't think it's a plan yet.
Okay.
Just that maybe just the legislators that are on the Public Safety Committee at least, if we could arrange a ride-along on an evening where you could get out there and get an idea of what they're doing and what the size of the county is and what does go on in a normal shift.
I will share my experience of having been on a ride-along. 2 blocks after I got in the car, an arrest was made. 3 people in the car in front of us were arrested, and the Liberty Police came in as backup. It was quite eventful.
Well, if we get back on the overtime discussion, it's evident that some aren't comfortable with 250, you know what I'm saying? So, it's
Whatever
down
you
to
can
one.
consider
Well,
would be
what
to
I-
the good. We'll try to work within.
I understand, but what I'm thinking is that possibly it may help so that we don't keep revisiting this overtime issue. If we could just get a sense of where the overtime gets divvied out. You know what I'm saying? So, there is some kind of a deliverable plan for this overtime. Is that reasonable?
Yeah, we could work something out.
Okay. It might make some more comfortable, which would be great. What are you laughing at?
I'm smiling, it's
Okay.
You're very interested, right?
I mean,
I'm actually
no, I-
smiling.
It's
All
just
right,
cut to
let's
the
have
chase.
order in the court.
How about the ham and cheese?
May help you, it may help us.
It's an old Three Stooges thing.
All right, so you are amenable to providing a plan, Sheriff?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a plan. I'll work up where the overtime's going. Work up and show where we've been giving the overtime.
Okay, so let me just rephrase the question, Ira. When you requested a plan, which sounded like a reasonable request to me, what was it that you had in mind?
I was looking to really do like a pro forma on what the needs are as opposed to what we're doing now. So we'd have a better understanding if we're short or we're over on what the man hours really are required, that you really think are required.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't I get some numbers worked up, and just to simplify liaison with you, sit down and go over the numbers and show you exactly what we got. We'll drum up what we can, take a look
Well,
at it.
I think
Right,
Ira was
yeah,
asking
Court-
on behalf of the whole.
Yeah, I
No, that's
don't,
what I mean.
Take
yeah.
over as public safety, be my guest.
Well, I think I think you should respond to Cora, for committee.
Well, I meant you, aren't you under committee?
Yeah, but I'm saying it should go through the chairman. I'll be glad to be there also, I'm just saying it.
Well, I'm fine with whoever, it's
Yeah.
just she was leaning to you to be like.
No, she's just
you
saying
had a
it was a
plan.
request I made, that's all. I think she was
Whoever,
trying to- I
we
don't-
can sit down with whoever you deem appropriate. and
Just give us
go
the
over it.
information, we'll look at it. Yeah, we'll be happy to look at it.
I think realistically though, I don't know how quick you're gonna be able to come up with a plan like that. I think with us voting on the budget within, what is it, a week or?
Next week.
Next week.
When you say plan, what are you looking for? Because I mean, it's.
I don't think that realistically, I think what I was looking for was going through your staffing needs on what you need, you know, during the day you have different needs and coming up with the manpower and then backfilling with what is required, overtime, your staffing, if it goes up and down, how much additional, that's what I was looking for.
Because sometimes it's tough to predict, as you may imagine, in the
Well,
police
that-
world. Like, we'll get a call this afternoon from Judge McGuire, I got a kid I'm committing to a youth home by Albany. Now you gotta find 2 people to take them up there, and you only have 2 on the road now, somebody's gotta come in on overtime. Now, that we do get reimbursed for, but that doesn't get reflected in the projected budget, because they don't, you get reimbursed, but it's not ahead of time, there's no.
I think realistically, you're not gonna be able to do this within the time period. And this is, I'm just speaking for myself, obviously. I think what would be helpful is to give us the hard facts of last year. How many man out, how many men you had, how many men you were down, what are your current staffing, what you're gonna have, so we can figure out, based on last year's experience, what the overtime should be. Cindy's bringing up another issue, which that's another point. What are you using for and analyzing that? That's separate from what I'm saying. I wanna know what you actually used last year based upon the staffing, and what next year's staffing is gonna be, to come up with a number of what we should budget for next year. Because you're not gonna come up with a plan in a week.
Well, my request is time sensitive, because you're requesting the funding for this budget, so,
So this.
but his is.
Well, I'm saying this
more
is gonna be something I would think,
I just wanna know where.
if mine's easier, actually.
But in actuality, I mean, not what Eric is saying when it comes to if you have a sudden need and you have to bring somebody in. I go back to remembering a statistics course that I took a long time ago. And in that statistics course, they use the flower shop as an example. You don't necessarily know how many flowers you're gonna sell, but you look at it over how many you did in the last 5 years, and you come up with a reality of how much you're spending in what direction. And when you're including how much you're spending in what direction, when it comes to overtime, sometimes I know at the hospital in the past what they did is they found that it was cheaper to pay somebody overtime than to hire somebody else because of the cost of benefits. So, I mean, that all needs to be in this interplay in order for us to reality look at how much do we need to pay towards the sheriff's department for the safety of this public, and which is the best way to fund that, because whether it's an overtime or another man person, that person could end up being more expensive than overtime in and of itself. So that needs to be incorporated in this overall plan that I think we need to have a look at in order to help you properly budget for it.
Yeah, I think right now what we do is we just estimate, just the way you said, what are the projected needs? What have we been using, and what's a realistic number? That with what we've been doing and the workload that's here, not anticipating any great rise, that if things stay approximately the same, that's about what we've been using.
Is that what you're asking for, Ira?
Yeah, basically, that's what I was asking.
But he said he's already provided.
So Ira, you want how OT is used for staff?
I'm saying what you would like, what you feel your needs are in staff.
And Cindy, I just want to make sure I get this.
And you got, like I said, we have gaps in, desiring to give you the 250, so you have to hopefully provide.
Where would 250
Where's,
go?
I'm sure you know where your overtime is gone, so
Yeah.
just give us a sense of how that all works. Some
Are
of
you
it's
giving it to a patrolman,
last
or are you
minute.
giving it to a lieutenant? There's a big
Well-
difference.
Well, we get back to, we'll have an overtime assignment that needs to be filled, and gets posted, and, these new kids don't wanna work overtime, they wanna go home and play Xbox.
Okay, we're getting a little bit veering off the subject here. We're trying to help. We're trying to
Well, I
fulfill
would say-
a lot of needs for a lot of departments. If a legislator asks for specific information, as a starting point, just give what he's asked for, and we'll
Well, I
go
would-
from there.
The under was trying to make the point. In our agency, we have 2 lieutenants. Both of them go out and do road patrol duties. Now, are they the highest paid? Yes, but we put the overtime up, and if nobody volunteers, we have to assign some. If somebody junior that's up volunteers, we're happy and they get it. But a lot of the younger people don't want to volunteer for the overtime. The
So-
old timers do. And by
well-
contract, you can't restrict someone who volunteers and mandate somebody who doesn't wanna stay.
Okay, that was my question. I know inside the jail, you have a certain mandation because the State Department of Corrections tells you this is how many men you need on shifts. You done?
He just reminded me of one other component here. We have the 12-hour shift for patrol. That doesn't apply to the school people, it doesn't apply to the 2 lieutenants.
They're on
So
8.
They're more available to be helped. They're here 5 days a week. They're here more often, where the people on the 12-hour schedule aren't here as many days. And you can't hold them for a full holdover
12 and
schedule.
12, I understand that.
So it also adds to that problem, and I know where you're going with it, and I would prefer to pay the lower person myself. But contractually, we are restricted that we can't mandate someone if we have a volunteer.
But you know, Sheriff, in all due respect, if you run out of your overtime money, you know, we can always find a contingency fund, we do that every year, so we're not gonna let you hang out there and not give you any money. We always seem to come up with something, you know that, we work with you.
Yeah,
So-
but that's like writing a blank check.
No, but if he needs it,
But
if he needs
I'm
it,
only, I'm only trying to be a honest partner with you and not tell you 100 is good, and then at the end of the year, just hit you with a crazy number. You have been good. The legislature has not let me down, that if the overtime goes over.
Could you repeat that for the press, please?
Does that include me as well? Is that a curiosity?
Absolutely. The legislature's been good. Whenever there is an overage on something like that, they take care of it. But as an honest partner, I don't want to tell you, yeah, whatever you put in at $20 is good, and then at the end of the year, hit you with some crazy number. I want to tell you about what I believe we're going to use and be as close to that number as we possibly can. So whatever you put in, you have been
Can I ask you a
partners with
question
us.
now? If you used about 140 this year, why are you asking for 250?
We didn't. We had 140 in the budget with the 43 you threw in. We're over that.
So,
To the tune of 250?
Getting.
Let me find out.
So we have,
Okay.
we have a now
Well,
bill
you
for
find out.
$130,000 over.
Okay.
You're the chair.
We've been very favorable to cut that down.
And, you know,
Can I
wanna
hold
be
the
clear,
reins of this meeting?
I'm all for public safety too. I'm just saying, I'm all for, you know, I wanna give you what you need, I wanna be clear. If I'm coming across anything but that, that's not what I'm trying to imply. We have to live within the tax cap now. Everybody's looking to get what they can. So I just wanna make sure that we're doing the best we can for everybody. So don't get the wrong idea, I wanna help you wherever you can, but, you know, that, if you only spent 140, I have to ask the question, why do you need 250? So-
Okay, can we end it now? Because I don't think we're gonna resolve this issue in the next few minutes. I think what we need is this written report, and then we'll have as much time as we need to review it and come up with something that everybody can live with. Okay, that's my final statement on that.
In 1 week.
Yeah.
Starting on it today.
With everybody's permission, I'd like to move to the discussion item on emergency preparedness and the public comment section. As you, Dick's not here, so I'm gonna just kind of ask gentlemen if you need to step in at any point. There's an article, it's been in the River Reporter, the Democrat, Long Eddy family driven out of their home. I want to thank Cindy Geiger. She gave me a call around 9:30, 10 o'clock the night that the incident happened. I called 911 to find out exactly what was going on, and they were incredible. I really just, Michael was on duty that night. Very clear, very logical, and from that I was able to contact the family that was asked to get out of their home, Jessica. And Jessica, thank you so much for coming today. I'd like for everybody here to be able to get a first-hand account of what happened. We hear things through the paper. We're very thankful about that. But I think your story is something that affects us here in Sullivan County, and we really want to make sure that we have the best emergency plan that we can action as possible. So if you don't mind.
About 9:35.
First, your name and...
I'm sorry, Jessica Kenyon. I'm here for my family, my husband and my children. About 9:35, we received a knock on the door, and it was the excuse me, because I get, the project manager of the Millennium Pipeline, Don Miller, and a pipeline worker, said that you need to get out now. We found a crack in the pipe, okay? Here I have 2 children, they're like, what's going on? So.
And your children are 4?
I have a 4-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old son. My 4-year-old daughter doesn't quite understand. My 13-year-old son flipped, just flipped. And of course, I did. We had addressed these issues over and over for the town of Hancock. I even went to the Delaware County IDA meetings. I went to every meeting I could possibly do.
I'm going to interrupt you for just 1 second. One of the reasons why, even though you're a Delaware County resident, that we've asked you here for Sullivan County is because the Long Eddy Fire Department district is the closest to
and that's where we are in.
And that's where you evacuated to in Sullivan County.
Yes, and we are in the fire district in the Sullivan County Fire District. We were told by the Millennium project manager that this blowdown was going to occur at 100 decibels or louder, which was said was very extremely loud and dangerous. I am hearing impaired. I wear hearing aids. I cannot be subject to something like that, let alone my 4-year-old daughter and my son, who's still developing. They wanted to put us in the Hancock House or the Long Eddy Hotel. Well, I'm not going to take my children to a bar to stay for the night. I just won't do that. I have family that live in Long Eddy. I called my mother immediately. I said, we are coming. I told her briefly what happened, hung up, because I was told you got 10 minutes or you're not getting out. And it was going to be extremely loud, and that over an hour of 100 decibels, it would drop, like, slowly the pressure would drop. It would take 2 to 3 hours. Unfortunately, I found out we were the only ones that were told to leave. They're playing it down that they were giving us an option. After the guy left, he called me 5 minutes later and said, what are you doing? Are you getting out? Well, of course we're leaving. We're trying to, 10-minute notice. I mean, so we left, and I was very unhappy. I told them I want a phone call from your representative at my mother's house. They called at 10:35. Wanted to know that we got out, make sure before they started this procedure because they were very concerned for us. And then I received a call from you. You contacted me. I even called 911 because when I left, there were no ambulance, there were no fire department, there was no state police, there was no sheriffs, nothing. It was just the Millennium workers. I passed hundreds of vehicles. They called all their workers in. So I called 911 from my mother's house, which I hate to tie up the line, but I needed to know, where's the fire department? It was pitch black. I was told by 911, we called the fire chief. Okay, that was it. That's all I got. And I said, thank you, and I hung up. Then you called and I explained to you what happened. Millennium is downplaying this. They're telling all the local officials. It was planned. It was planned. When I was contacted by the representative on Saturday, they had informed me they did find this early on in the evening. But why did they wait till 9:35 to notify me? Come to find out, they released millions of gallons of gas from Hancock to Long Eddy. That's 10-mile stretch. That's a lot of gas to be putting in the air. DEC was not there to monitor the air or the noise. My concern, I feel that the Sullivan County legislators and that are more concerned than our Delaware County, who we pay the taxes to. I have not heard from anybody from Delaware County, only a newspaper reporter. That is it. I still yet to get a response from anybody.
You've reached out though?
Yes. Okay. Nothing. My children, I still every day have to tell my son, I can't promise this won't happen again. What if this was the blow? I have gone to town board meetings, and every time I address what are the evacuation route, what is the safety, it's out of our jurisdiction. I pay your taxes. You need to tell me. I had Kate Bowers had actually sent an email to Dick Martinovic about emergency plan. And she had asked, that since this was approved, what because we are in the Long Eddy Fire District, which is in Sullivan County in the upper Delaware ambulance. We are concerned, we have been told by Millennium and the owners of the station that Hancock will be our district. They're not our district. So his response to Kate was that he investigated the information and found the following. The location of the compressor station is in the town of Hancock and within the Long Eddy Fire District and is served by Upper Delaware Ambulance. Since this is in the town of Hancock, the town planning board has had a meeting on the project, at which time Delaware County Emergency Service Director Rich Bell did attend with representatives from the Delaware County Planning Department. Since it was in Delaware County, Millennium did not invite anyone from Sullivan County to his knowledge. They were advised by Director Bell that the project location was in the Long Eddy Fire District and that they would contact Long Eddy for a meeting of the Emergency Response Agency as required. He said he would expect to be invited to that meeting as a Public Safety Commissioner of Sullivan County. Matter of fact, he would call Millennium to ensure that this was done. He went on to say, as this project is still in the planning approval stage, we do not have a response plan as part of the county at this time. This is dated October 7th, a month ago. How they will write a compressor station response into the training will be referred to their local emergency planning committee. And my training on gas line, transmission line has taught me that the responses made by the owner response team and that the local emergency response will coordinate to safeguard the public from any danger around the area. There was nobody there to make sure that it was safe, people were safe. And that's pretty much, you know. So I don't know, is there, Sullivan County have a plan?
Well, we've had discussions after, you know, the Grandview fire and after Hurricane Sandy, Storm Sandy. And, you know, going to, I don't know if you heard earlier, we were talking about these emergency preparedness trainings. The local area, you know, the first responders, and you can correct me if I'm off base on any of this, is that there is some sort of like mutual aid agreement, Long Eddy being the closest fire department. I did also talk to the National Park Service because of the fact that you're dealing with an area where within a radius of a few miles you're already in Pennsylvania and then you're in Sullivan County. So when I talked to the FEMA people after Hurricane Sandy, they said after every incident you kind of have to turn the page and write that next incident in your emergency preparedness manual, because no two incidents are ever going to play out the same way. So I think what's helpful for us is, you're shaking your head, Bill. What's wrong? What?
No, you've got the floor. I'll talk when I'm allowed to.
You're allowed to talk.
I need some information first before we go any further. I need clarification. And ma'am, please know, on behalf of public safety, we sympathize with what happened to you the other night. But I want clarification. You do live in Delaware County?
Correct.
Okay. So basically, before we go any further, this issue needs to be dealt with the Public Safety Board Commission of Delaware County, not Sullivan County.
Wait, we agree with that. However, the Long Eddy Fire Department is in Sullivan County.
And they have to answer, because that's a protection district, they have to answer to Delaware County because they protect an area in Delaware County. So the fire chief has to answer to the Public Safety Commission for Delaware County when they have an incident in Delaware County.
So that's the first action plan.
As she must answer, the chief, and it is a she, must answer to this board when she has an incident in Sullivan County. So there is a jurisdictional split there. She answers to one when there's an incident in Delaware, one when there's an incident in Sullivan County. And we have several departments that are like that, i.e. the Bloomingburg Fire District, same thing, they're into Orange County. Okay? So this situation is clearly an issue for the Delaware County Public Safety people. However, you're here and we're not turning you away, okay? We would never do that. And certainly, the Public Safety Commissioner, who unfortunately could not be here today because he's in Montour Falls at a regional meeting, certainly sent the three of us here today to offer anything that we can. And we offer this, that A, the gas line has been there for many, many years. There are not many incidents when there are gas situations, thank God. But you must know that the gas industry throughout the United States is one of the safest industries in the United States, and they're very cognizant. I need to know, is there anybody in this room from Columbia Gas? Did they show up today? Well, I would say that they need to get to Delaware County, and they need to show up at the Delaware County meeting, and ma'am, you need to go there, and I
Okay,
think you
that's-
need to
that
have that
part's
out
clear.
with them.
What I need to be very clear about as public safety chair in Sullivan County is the impact that, thank God this didn't happen on the 4th of July when 40 houses on Hungry Hill Road would have had second homeowners there for the weekend. Because we're the county, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, that would then be having the Long Eddy Fire Station set up as an emergency shelter.
Not
Should that-
necessarily,
Okay,
no.
so
I
then-
want you to know.
let me-
Go
So
ahead, Jack.
I want clarification on
Go
that.
ahead, we're gonna get.
Number one, if there is a call in the Long Eddy Fire District, and it is in Delaware County, that kicks in a different set of rules. If
Okay.
it is a fire that needs to be investigated, the Delaware County fire investigators will be called. If there is a criminal act, it would be the Delaware County law enforcement, sheriff's department, or I'm not sure, does Hancock have local?
Yeah, they have sheriff and state.
Okay, so that's where that would come from. Now, Long Eddy, being in the jurisdiction of the Fire Protection District there, they would show up. If they needed assistance, they would call. And once the second due company goes into the fire scene or the emergency scene, one of the three of us, or the other two are actually that's Joe's territory, he would show up. Sullivan County has the mutual aid plan. There are 40 fire departments that have all signed that they will all help each other. In addition to that, if we need additional resources, we could call fire ops at the state, and we would get additional resources from the state. Now, for a natural gas release, we all have been trained. Columbia Gas has offered numerous training classes for all of us. There was 20 of us that just took flammable gas and liquids at the Montour Falls at the State Fire Academy. We are all trained, we all have an expertise. Billy has an expertise for us in the Bureau. He is part of the search and rescue team. Joe is our senior deputy. He takes care of the training. I do logistics. Mike does hazmat, and Tommy is in charge of the search and rescue team. So in your case, a natural gas release, natural gas being lighter than air, is going to go into the air and dissipate much quicker than LP gas. LP gas is heavier than air, and it goes down low. The problem with that, it's always seeking a point or a source of ignition. If a natural gas or a propane gas leak is burning, that is good. We have complete control. So, and I'm sorry what happened to you, but in your case, why? Because we are not part of Delaware County, I cannot and will not answer for them. And a natural gas release, if the fire department is called, the utility company is going to handle it. If we have wires down out here and a transformer blows up, the fire department is going to come and they are going to mitigate the problem if they can. They're going to protect the exposures, and we're going to call the electric company. They're going to come and take care of the problem. When they get there, they may release us and control their own traffic problems, or we may stay because of the problem of traffic control. In a gas situation, whether it be LP, now LP in Sullivan County, we do have a LP gas task force. If there is a LP gas, liquid propane release, and we do get that quite often, that the fire department would go, and if there is, sometimes all you gotta do is go turn the knob and shut the tank off. Sometimes the line is broken and we can't get to it. So we will call the gas company. The gas company then will invoke or initiate their response through their task force. Natural gas,
fortunately or unfortunately, I guess however you want to look at it, there is not a lot of natural gas in Sullivan County. We do have a natural gas line going through Sullivan County. The usage of natural gas there's a little bit in Forestburg. If there is a natural gas release, same thing as propane. We are going to go and we are going to mitigate the problem. Possibility of using fog stream to dissipate the gas more rapidly for both LP and for natural gas, and then you call in the utility company. This is a standard practice that I would say anybody is going to do for a utility. You try to protect your exposures, you try to protect the life of people, and let them handle it. They are the experts in it.
So, in other words, let me just make sure I'm clear, that the protocols that were followed in this particular case, not involving the Long Eddy Fire Department, were correct?
Well, I'm not saying they were correct. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know the details. I read in the paper what happened up there. I don't know if this was an emergency, if this was a planned release.
Okay.
I'm assuming that whatever they were doing, they do all the time. Just as you see utility trucks doing their job every day by replacing transformers, by replacing water pumps, by replacing gas lines. This is what they do. That's their job. They have expertise in it. So as to what happened, I don't really know.
Okay.
I heard what you just said, told us. I read the newspaper.
So the question still remains. Do you want to go ahead, Bill?
Yes, and I don't want to prolong this as bad as the sheriff's overtime, but.
We got into overtime.
I
here,
know,
didn't we?
not yet, but we will be. I think the situation purely deals with Columbia Gas. What they did or did not do, if it was sufficient or insufficient, that is where your problem lies. Should they have, if it was a serious situation, which I'm not saying what you're saying, feeling isn't serious, but maybe it is, this shouldn't be played out in the newspaper. We need to find
Well, it's
out
already
from,
there.
yeah, I'm not gonna play it out in the newspaper. We need to have somebody from Columbia Gas tell us how bad this was, or it wasn't that bad, right? Not that they're gonna say you're a liar or not, but there's nobody here from Columbia Gas, and
Millennium
before we
Pipeline.
beat them up, right? Maybe we need to get Columbia Gas, or Delaware County needs to get Columbia Gas together with the fire chief in Long Eddy and get this resolved.
Well,
But-
I agree with you there. What I'm, as public safety chair, and I want everybody in this room to understand that we have an emergency preparedness plan. We want to
Yeah.
make sure that should it be triggered for any reason within how it affects Sullivan County, we're
Cora,
confident.
please be assured, had the Long Eddy fire chief got on the horn and pulled the trigger, okay? The resources of the Bureau of Fire and 40 fire departments would have been in Long Eddy that night to assist in what was ever needed. However, the trigger was not pulled.
Okay,
So
so
we
that's-
can't pull it today.
We're not trying to pull it today.
Let me add to what you have said before. You said, after Sandy happened, we turned the page. Well,
Correct.
we're going to turn the page here because I'm going to tell you that our fire coordinator, Dick, was in communications with Columbia Gas and Delaware County, and because of that, on the next page, we are now going to be notified via email on any of that type of situations. As soon as Columbia Gas or Millennium Pipeline has a problem, they are going to notify the fire coordinator. The fire coordinator will in turn notify the fire chiefs in the area and the deputies. So we've already made progress, ma'am. So I mean, I want to reassure you that this did not fall on deaf ears, and that we are already working on the next page. You put it very good. Sandy was over, we turned the page, and now we're writing on that page. So, thankfully, everybody is A-OK. That page is closed. Now we're writing the next page. So you learn from every incident. And as someone else said, there are no two gas incidences. There are no two fires. There are no two structure fires. There are no two accidents. There are no two chases. They're exactly the same. You have a protocol or you have a plan of attack, and, you know, maybe it starts to snow and it changes everything. All of a sudden, you have 100 little kids coming running to you when you are entering a bungalow county, and things change. You know what you have to do, and rest assured, emergency services in Sullivan County do change and adapt to the conditions and the incident as they are happening or as they occur.
Thank you.
Well, you know, I think this discussion has focused on this particular incident. But looking at the compressor station and Hungry Hill and the close proximity, Sullivan to Delaware County, constituents have shown concern over what could happen. I think this is absolutely the forum to discuss, do we have all our emergency plans in a row? Like you're saying, if it was triggered, you would have been there and you would have done what you had to do. But I think this is absolutely necessary to have the discussion, pull in. I talked to the gas representative myself, and they did call it an incident, and he did have concerns. He did call it a learning experience. I said, I feel uncomfortable with it being a learning experience because it seems like you had said, the track record with gas from Maine to California, they must have some kind of plan in place if it was, God forbid, a blowout. So I would like to follow up with a discussion, whether she lives in Delaware County or a second homeowner lives in Sullivan. To me, that's immaterial. The bottom line is to make sure, Cora's the chair of the committee, pull in a representative from the, let's make sure that if this was triggered, that, you know, compressor stations, hey, we have two, right? Minnesink and Hungry Hill. And there can be incidents. And I don't want it to be a learning experience where we turn the page and discover, oh, we should have done that. I want to see all the ducks in a row. So when my constituents show concern, I can say, I as a legislator have addressed this with my colleagues. This is the emergency plan. And I think, did you just, or Cora, just read something from Dick Martinkovic that did say,
This is the email that
we
he sent
don't
me
have,
October 7th at 11:06.
what was that phrase that he had stated? I don't have,
As of this project is still in the planning and approval stage, we do not have a response plan as part of the county. And that's his email.
That's not a response plan for that specific location, because it's being built, it's not done yet.
well, that's what I'm saying, these are
But
the
we have a
things
response
that we
plan
as
for-
legislators answering to our constituents need to make perfectly clear.
We have a response plan for the pipeline.
Right. Mr.
That
Chairman
pipeline-
just said that they are
The
well
pipeline
prepared.
goes through my entire battalion. The county's broke down to 5 battalions. It goes through the Forestburg Fire District, the Lumberland Fire District, the Highland Lake Fire District, the Ulen Fire District.
I understand. When I talked
We
to the
meet
gas
as a group.
company rep, he said that he agreed that there should be a discussion to make sure Delaware, Sullivan, do you want to like this?
Absolutely. We agree. We have the fire
Thank
chiefs
you.
and all those, but all the fire chiefs who have the pipeline through their battalion, through their fire district, have met with Columbia Gas. Columbia Gas has explained what their capabilities are. We've discussed what our capabilities are.
Good.
We have a plan. In 47 years that I've been a firefighter, in a district that has a pipeline through it, there's never been an incident.
But we have 2 compressor stations now, which I understand.
Who is we?
There's one at Hungry Hill and Minnesink.
Right.
We haven't had that before, am I correct?
Well, Minnesink is in Orange County.
I
Hungry Hill is in
understand.
Delaware County.
But compressor stations have been added, right?
Correct.
Okay.
But not in the Sullivan County.
But because of the close proximity to some of our constituents, we have to address this emergency plan.
We will.
We will.
We have.
Okay, good. So I think we, you know, obviously there were several key players who weren't here today. And,
You need to get them together.
well, that's why we're here and we're
That's
gonna
why
take up.
we had this discussion, and I appreciate that
We agree.
recommendation.
The
Okay.
three of us agree with that. The couple of key players that are not here today, when they return, I'm sure they're gonna hear about this meeting, and they need to be brought together. And then we can go from there and see what avenue we wanna go down, so that people like her and your constituents feel warm and fuzzy.
Exactly.
That's all that matters
That's
to us.
exactly what we need to do.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, Alan? I just just so that you know,
It'll be
the
very
next,
brief.
This isn't
committee meeting's
overtime,
at
is it?
2:00.
No.
Bill, don't go there, please.
I think
I get beat up enough.
It's, if there is a meeting with Columbia Gas and the districts, I would also recommend perhaps having the planning board chairs involved so that as the county develops, we're not putting homes in close proximity to the
Good idea.
pipeline.
Okay, so the next, public safety meeting is the second week of January. That's
Third.
Third week of January, so it's not the 8th, it's the,
And you
Hold
got-
on a minute. The 2nd, the
The 9th,
7th,
it's the 11th.
and the 9th. So you're the 9th. Yeah, 2nd, 9th.
okay, so January 9th, and we'll try to, make sure that all of the suggestions that Bill made, are taken on board. All right, Bill? So we've got 3 minutes left. I want to thank everyone for coming. Is there any other public comment before we adjourn?
I'm not speaking to the public, but I do have a comment. I just don't want people out there on their social media sites to think that the legislators are the bad guys when it comes to certain discussions. We are here to help everybody in Sullivan County. We're doing the best we can with what we have. I'm tired of being accused of not giving enough to certain departments. Enough is enough. That's all I have to say.
I saw a hand raised for public comment.
I have a question, yeah. First of all, we're not talking about having a pipeline. This incident was not related to having a pipeline. It's related to construction of a compressor station. And when this was being licensed by FERC, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, there was a lot of discussion of public safety and whether this was an appropriate location because it's a winding, narrow road that had one means of egress in the winter. I understand that may have changed. But there was also a lot of talk about the nearest fire department, which is the Long Eddy Fire Department. And there was talk about the staffing there, which seemed low, and the physical fitness of the members. And one question that came up, and maybe someone here can answer it, was they didn't have a foam truck. And now a foam truck is what you need to put out a fire like the, let me just finish the question.
Go right ahead, I'm not interrupting.
A foam truck is what you need to put out a fire at a compressor station. I know the Long Eddy Fire Department is not supposed to put out a fire at this compressor station. The fire department, the town of Windsor in Broome County was also not supposed to put out a fire at the compressor station there that caught fire, and they ended up putting it out with their foam truck. So my question is, the town of Windsor Fire Department had to put it out because it was there, and they were the first responders, as Long Eddy would be. So my question is, has Long Eddy been equipped with a foam truck, or if not, where is the nearest foam truck to this compressor station?
Are you okay with us going over into
Not a
your
problem.
Joe will,
Okay.
Jack defers.
First of all, you have to understand something about gas, okay? If gas is on fire, it's really relatively safe. If you go in and put the fire out with no way of stopping the flow of gas, you've worsened the emergency. The burning gas is taking away the danger. Escaping gas is far, far, far more dangerous because it'll escape, reach an ignition source, and cause an explosion. Right? Our training is we don't put the fire out. Okay? We also don't go out and grab electric lines and pull them out of the road. It's too dangerous. It's not the level of what firefighters do. Okay? We wait and we call in the experts. John Wayne, if you want to go there.
Red Adair.
Red Adair.
Red
Red
Adair.
Adair.
Red Adair.
The movie's Wildcats. We don't have the capability of putting out the fire, and we don't want to put out the fire.
Do we have a foam truck?
We have numerous trucks with foam
Is
on.
there one in Long Eddy?
Not in Long Eddy. There's
Where's the
some.
nearest one? Is my
I would have to
question.
research that.
Okay.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's what my question was.
But first of all, you wouldn't use foam to put the gas
That's
fire
what
out
they
to
used in
begin
Windsor
with.
when they
That's
did
not
this.
what they used in Windsor. They never used a foam truck up there. They called it and never used it. Okay? Get your facts straight. First of all, who are you?
Okay,
sir?
whoa, whoa, whoa,
No, no.
stop.
Who are you?
That is absolutely, I do not want to have any kind of accusations like that in this committee. I wanna have a civil conversation. We're here to improve the public safety. So when, if people want to, you know, identify who they are, they can. If they don't wanna identify who they are, they don't have
I
to.
will identify who I am.
Thank you, but please,
I am-
please, I'm
I am-
asking you very nicely,
Okay,
please,
okay.
let's keep this in a civil tone at a
I'm
civil
sorry.
level.
I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
Okay, I am Joe Milan. I'm Senior Deputy Fire Coordinator in Sullivan County.
I'm Bruce Ferguson, citizen.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
The phone was not used in that
Technically,
instance.
you're supposed to
Phone was not
identify
used
yourself in public
without
comment,
a,
just so you know.
propane or natural gas fire.
Water,
Yes, they do.
Water
They
could be
do,
used and
yeah.
dissipated,
but not phone.
foam is not used.
I have a question.
Okay, so now we're asking, according to
Jill Weiner, citizen. So one is when they came to the resident's door and they announced that there was noise, this is more of a statement than a question, that the noise would be, you know, above 100 decibels and you should leave. What was left unsaid was that there will be methane released into the atmosphere along with butane and propane and ethane, which is toxic and goes along with the methane. And it's just seems to be much easier to go to somebody's door and say, you're gonna hear a loud noise, not you should get out of here or stay in place and you know, at some point it'll be too dangerous for you to leave your house because you'll be walking into a toxic cloud. But my question is, who is the emergency response to, let's say there is an explosion at a compressor station? Who gets called? Because you're not supposed to touch it, but there are private companies that do come in. So where's the nearest private company that would be the response? Because I know sometimes they are flown in from places like Texas.
That's a question you'd have to ask the gas company. I have no idea.
So that should be in the emergency preparedness document.
Procedurally, if a fire chief said, hey, whether it's a gasoline spill or an electric wire that's down or a pipeline emergency, 911, the chief would say contact the gas company, the pipeline company.
Mhm.
And the pipeline, you know, we would call their 800 number, we have a line into their dispatch center of the pipeline company.
Mhm.
And then they would dispatch crews, and it would be up to them to also dispatch contractors that would handle that. So no differently than a gasoline spill or fuel oil truck that rolls over, we would contact the DEC. The DEC would go to the truck manufacturer, or the oil company and say, okay, who do you wanna call in to clean this up? And it would be up, you know, there's a chain there, but, so 911 would notify the pipeline company that, hey, you know, you have a fire, you have an explosion, you know, based on what the fire chief told us.
So, and just as a quick follow-up, with this 911 call that came into Sullivan County, were other notifications, like was there a tree that went out so that the DEC was notified and Fish and Wildlife, the National Park Service, other agencies that might be responsive, the EPA? Does that happen?
I don't believe that happened. I believe the call went into the chief of Longetti, and she handled what she saw was the need at that particular time, and we can't second guess. We weren't there, and certainly whatever a gentleman told you at your door or the next day, and speaking for the gas company, I don't think anybody in this room is qualified to say what gases blew off or methane, propane, we can't, none of us can say that.
That's fine, and I will just say that you then probably shouldn't have been the person to stand up and talk about the impeccable safety record of gas
Okay.
companies
So
across.
I'm gonna say what
Oh,
I
I
said
am, ma'am.
before. I'm
Please
gonna
don't
say what I
question
said
that.
before. I'm gonna say what I said before, which is we have to keep this at a very civil level. We're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to improve the emergency preparedness and the level of public safety in Sullivan County, and we're not here to cast aspersions on anybody's reputation or name or anything like that. If you want to do that, you do it outside of this building, but not in this room.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.